lot of you were there. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was really fun to go through this process. For those of you who did not make it, what I'm going to do is later on this afternoon, I'll send you a link if you want to go in and check out the recording. For those, because I told you all that there's a big retirement crisis happening in America now. It's not going to happen. It is happening. Most Americans are not prepared for retirement. Most Americans are going to be struggling financially in retirement. And there's a lot of discussion about that in terms of culturally why this is happening. In terms of economic culture, I talk about culture a lot in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And I believe I was talking to my friend about that this morning. I said that I believe the retirement crisis is happening in America because we have a culture that does not value delayed gratification. We have a culture that does not value intellectual thinking. We have a culture that does not value long-term planning. So people are not prepared for retirement for the same reason that Americans are very fat and unhealthy, for the same reason that we have a very high divorce rate, for the same reason that our children are not being educated, for the same reason our government has 37 trillion in debt. Nobody's thinking about the future. And so that's a consciousness exercise, the ability to put yourself 30 years into the future, 20 years in the future, 10 years in the future, and to see that clearly and to make a plan for that and to sacrifice for that. That is a skill, and that requires a certain type of conscientiousness, emotional intelligence that most people don't have. So anyway, if you want to see the recording of that, I will send you all a link to give you an opportunity later on today to join the Retire Rich and Early program in the Dr. Boyce Academy. Totally up to you if you like to take a look. If you want to be on the text list to get that link, text the word morning to the number 87948. You'll also get invited to this class. So just text morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. I'll send you a link and you can go and take a look at the recording. All right. Now, with that said, one thing I wanted to mention very quickly is with this stuff going on in the Middle East, some of you have asked me about this. What's this going to do to the stock market? What's going to do to the economy? Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan Chase made a point last week where he said that the geopolitical risk in the Middle East is one of the most disturbing things that he's dealing with right now from a financial standpoint. If Iran and Israel don't stop hurling missiles at each other, that's probably going to crash the stock market at some point. When somebody ends up deciding to escalate the conflict, which Benjamin Netanyahu tends to do, it's going to get messy, most likely for your stocks. And it could get very messy for the economy because what happens is that when the stock market drops, that can cause economic problems because a lot of employers' ability to employ and to make investments or consumers' ability to spend is connected to what they call the wealth effect of the stock market. So when the stock market value drops, it creates a lot of other chain reactions in the economy that can cause an economic crisis, economic calamity. To use a simple example, I had a student that I talked to about stock options, and he got a big margin call, right? Where basically because the value of his assets had dropped, they were saying, okay, you have to put up more cash or you got to sell your stock. So if he does not have the cash to put in toward the margin call, then guess what? He's going to have to sell his stock, which is and this is happening in millions of different portfolios around the world. Some of the portfolios are in the billions of dollars. So when that occurs, sorry about that, I'm trying to fix this light. So when that happens, you end up seeing prices continue to drop, almost like in a type of momentum, almost like a rock being dropped from the top of a mountain. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And then what it does is it doesn't just affect the values of the equities you own, it affects other economic activity. If I'm not feeling as wealthy based on the value of my stock portfolios, then maybe I'm not going to hire those employees that I was going to hire before. If I'm not feeling as wealthy in my stock portfolio, maybe as a consumer, I'm not going to go buy that new car that I was going to get before, right? So all these different effects, and there's more we could talk about, but this creates what is referred to maybe as an economic contagion. And because once the United States starts to feel the pain, guess what? It's going to be global. It's a global thing. The United States is one of the strongest economies in the world. My dissertation chair, Andrew Caroli, he's one of the nicest white people I've ever met. He actually is at Cornell University. He actually wrote a lot of research on financial contagions.